Hi and welcome to this video. So in between the darkness that is that show Under the Bridge, which is really good, you should watch it, and the labor-intensive Dune videos, I figured I'd do something a little bit lighter and check out this romance movie with Anne Hathaway. I cringed my way through the trailer, so I knew that I was going to love this. I adore Anne Hathaway, and I unironically loved the Royal Blue gay movie, even though I didn't care for the book. So I like the guy as well, who actually, I just realized, is not the kid from Love, Simon all grown up. But he's in a few of these romance type movies, and he's pretty good as a lead, so this is going to be good. Anyway, onto the video. Celine is a 39-year-old divorced mother to an actually really sweet teenager named Izzy. Celine has this laid-back, kind of chic, artsy life in LA and a pretty cozy house. So Izzy's dad, Celine's ex-husband, Daniel, is supposed to take her and her friends to Coachella because he got them backstage passes to a band that, in reality, they all grew out of in grade 7. Still, the kids are keen on the trip. I mean, it is Coachella after all. After Daniel's called away on a work emergency, Sol has to drive the kids, and she ends up staying for the concert as well. At Coachella, the kids go off to do their own thing and see some bands, and Sol sits in the VIP lounge, and she's about to start reading Sally Rooney's Normal People, judging by the color of the book cover. She then goes to use the bathroom, but it's occupied. The person who comes out is an attractive 20-something guy, and for a moment, even though Sol is more focused on what she needs to do, for a moment, there's something there. A little recognition, a little spark. The guy gets a drink and sits in the trailer, which actually turns out to be his own trailer because he is performing on the main stage with this band August Moon, the band that Izzy and her friends got backstage passes for. He introduces himself as Hayes Campbell, and Sol kinda knows of him because of Izzy's old teen obsession with the band. Sol mentions that she's there because Izzy's father cancelled, and Hayes Campbell is like, her father, not your husband. This is such a Wattpad line, but he sells it. I thought it was really smooth. Sol tries to excuse herself, but Hayes asks if she wants to hang out, and he offers her a drink. But before long, his handlers come in, and he has to get ready to do some band duties. Anyway, they both go about their separate ways for a minute, only for him to come back to the VIP tent for his meet and greet, to sign autographs and meet fans. The kids do their thing, and even though they have outgrown the band, they're still pretty psyched because, you know, the guys are hot and nostalgia too, I guess. Celine is there, and it's clear that Hayes wants to talk to her a little more, so there's a little small talk. In fact, the group kind of holds up the queue a little bit while they chat, and one of Izzy's friends mentions that Sol has an art gallery in Silver Lake and that he should visit. The band is then huddled off by their management, but we just know that Hayes Campbell is going to show up at that gallery. August Moon finally performs, and the whole production is a little on the lower budget side, but it's fine, they're cute, and of course the group are all having a great time. Hayes and the band decide then to change their next song. He announces to the crowd that he met somebody tonight, and he's feeling a little bit inspired. So they sing a song with him as lead, and the song is about somebody a little older who he wants to get closer to. Oh, Sol knows. She's blushing, and she has that secret knowing smile. She knows. We later see her at the gallery. She's hard at work, and obviously Hayes Campbell shows up. He tells her that he looked her up and he needs some art. She shows him some clay pots, and he says he'll take them all. In fact, he'll buy out the whole gallery. I like that Sol wasn't very impressed by this. She chastises him at first, telling him that this is her job and it's serious. And he's like, no, seriously, I need art. Of course, outside the fans are all fanning out, trying to take photos and get a glimpse, and because of this, they end up going out back to Sol's car to go to some warehouse in the middle of nowhere to look at more art. They get to know each other a little bit more. She was pre-med, but she ended up as an art history major. He auditioned to be in the band. After talking for a bit, he's hungry and he suggests that they go and eat. Sol isn't so sure. She can sense where this is going. Not that she's not intrigued. Hayes says then that he doesn't meet a lot of people like her. She doesn't care about the Hayes Campbell pop star of it all. He just wants to get to know her. Anyway, they end up going to Sol's house so that they can be away from the fans and the public. She says she'll make him a sandwich, which is very wholesome. When they get to the house, he also does that thing that very wealthy characters do when they go to normal homes. He finds it very cozy and charming. Turns out Sol's fridge is broken because I guess we need some low-level shenanigans during the sandwich making. They get to work cleaning it and chatting. Like, imagine Harry Styles cleaning out your fridge. Because I think that this band is based on One Direction. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Hayes tells Sol that his dad wasn't in his life for a long time, but now he wants to be best friends. It's difficult for him to trust people. Sol opens up about her marriage and how it ended. She says that 3 years ago at a work function, she was telling a story about somebody cheating, and suddenly nobody could look at her. Everybody went quiet. Her husband and all of his colleagues at the table. collective guilt at knowing that he's been cheating, I guess. Sol says that initially she even wanted to forget the affair to keep her family together. And that's what makes her mad. And Daniel was the one who didn't want to move past it because he was in love. So he left and he married Ava. When Sol goes off to take a phone call, Hayes goes and sits by the piano and he plays what I'm guessing is an improvised piece because he might not know it yet, but he's in love. Sol likes it and they have a tense moment, wanting to kiss, pretending to fight it, all shy-like, and then they finally do kiss. She breaks away saying, "I'm too old for you." He's like, "No, you're not." In between kisses, she's expressing her doubts, but still carries on with it, as though she might be able to get her fill of it and she'd be strong enough to send him away. When Hayes leaves, he takes off his watch and leaves it on Sol's entrance hall table, which kind of gives him an excuse to see her again. You see, he did ask to see her again, but she said that it can't work. Just then, Izzy comes home, narrowly missing Hayes' departure. She notices that something's different about her mom. Is she high? Did she take a gummy? She goes off then to do teenage stuff without interrogating any further. Sol drops Izzy off at camp, and I keep forgetting that she's meant to be in high school because she's really mature. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, this is a really sweet movie in general, and the characters are pretty grounded in that way, so it fits. She gets a text from Hayes then saying that he can't stop thinking about that kiss and he wants to see her again. He got her number from the invoice from the art, and he's going to be in New York next weekend. He wants her to join him. We later see her watching some of the band's music videos on YouTube. She decides to fly to New York to see him, and she's wearing his watch and a very sexy dress. Obviously, they can't keep their hands off each other. They have very passionate fade to black sex, get room service, and they dance around in their underwear. He plays some guitar and he opens up to her about his insecurities. The next morning, he tells her that he has to leave for the European leg of his tour, and he'd like for her to come with him. Since Izzy is away at camp and he's bought up all the art in her gallery anyway, she has time on her hands. She worries about what people will say. Hayes says he doesn't care what they say. Sol boards a private jet with the band and they go gallivanting across Europe. They're frolicking at the beach, they're having sex in hotels, she watches them perform. I gotta say, the band's vibe on stage is very low effort. At some of their performances, some of them are just wearing jeans and hoodies. I don't know if it's because I was so impressed with Daisy Jones and the Sex that I expect more. Like, my standards are higher now for fictional bands. But anyway, it's still fine. They're at a restaurant one evening in Paris, canoodling, and they kiss out in public. Sol thinks that this is risky, and unbeknownst to them, they're actually being photographed. When the band has a break in the tour, they go to the south of France, to this villa that they've rented out. At this house, this is when things start to go sour. There's some groupie influencer type girls who always hang out with the band and, they're traveling with them, like roadies. They're young and they're in their bikinis at the pool, so Sol feels a little bit out of place, which is wild to me because look at her. But somehow her insecurity is still very believable. She goes out in this long sleeve denim dress, a big hat, covering up as much as she can. She's really polite to the girls, who are in turn pretty mean and shady. I desperately wanted to mute this because I can't stand to watch characters be embarrassed on TV shows and movies, but I powered through. Anyway, the girls reveal to Sol that what she thought was a very special moment with Hayes pretty much serenading her that first night is actually a bit. The band does this often, whenever one of them meets somebody that they like. And the last time Hayes did this was with a girl in Sweden. They're obviously relishing in telling her this, and one of the guys in the band also tells her that Hayes used to be fun. He used to actually act like a rock star before she came around. So yeah, they're laughing at her. Sol excuses herself, and Hayes is also upset, telling his friends that that wasn't cool, and he goes after her. She's busy packing her things, and she realizes that Ollie and the girls are pretty immature 20-year-olds. Of course, that's how they'd act. She thinks that this has been great. Hayes has been really beautiful, but she's done. This is over. She's had her wake-up call. She wants to go home. Having her ex-husband's friends all know about the affair and being in the dark about it was a gut punch, similar to the one that she felt by the pool. Obviously different situations, but in both, it's so she's the joke. Hayes wants her to stay. He says he feels happy for the first time in a long time. He's writing great music that he cares about, and he doesn't want this to end. He tells her that she didn't even give them a chance. She didn't tell anybody about them. Is she ashamed of him? Sol says yes, she is ashamed. She doesn't say she's ashamed of him, but she just says she's ashamed. All the same though, message received. With tears in his eyes, Hayes says that he'll arrange a flight back to LA for her. At least he books her into business class. I thought that that was very generous. At this point, I'm thinking, when are those canoodling photos going to hit the press? I'm surprised that the story hasn't broken yet. When Sol gets home, she finds a note attached to a painting that she loves, that Hayes knows that she loves, but the painter Sarah had previously always refused to sell. The note is from Sarah saying that Sol has a very persuasive admirer and she's glad that the painting is hers. Oh, Hayes. Izzy's dad, Daniel, and his very annoyed looking wife, Ava, come by the house to drop off Izzy's birthday gift. It's a car. He bought her a car. Daniel tells her then that one of his old colleagues saw her and Hayes kissing in Venice. Surely even she can admit that a relationship with a 24-year-old pop star would be crazy. Sol is vague, but he knows that there's something afoot and he looks kind of jealous. Ava then tells Sol that she's leaving Daniel. He just doesn't know it yet. Then the inevitable happens. The story breaks. It's not just the photos from the cafe in Paris, but the ones of them lounging on the beach, kissing. Her phone is blowing up. There are headlines about her being a cougar. She goes to pick up Izzy at camp. The parents are fanning all over her. Izzy is upset at first, but she says that she's most upset that her mom never told her. She also calls out the hypocrisy and the bullying and the ageism on the internet. Oh, she's so cute. She realizes that her mom is in love and she subtly approves. Sol goes to Hayes' recording studio and he has a very nice voice, by the way. She apologizes for the way that she treated him. And she says that all those things that he said he felt for her, she feels them too. At first, Hayes is like, I'm going to need a minute. I'm going to need some time. This is a lot. But like 5 seconds later, he's like, okay, that's enough time. And they kiss. They officially get back together and it's out in the open. The press is brutal though. There's even a Yoko Ono 2.0 headline. I still had to laugh at the Arrested Development Her headline because come on, even in this fictitious world, she's still stunning. So it's a little bit absurd. Anyway, Hayes is currently staying at the house and he answers the door to Daniel one day. Daniel is salty because he's newly divorced and not his choice this time. He's jealous. He slips and he even refers to Soline as his wife. He's being kind of territorial. And to be fair to him, Izzy is going to be caught up in the media storm and it is a lot. I mean, there's tons of paparazzi outside of their house, which isn't great. That perhaps also camped outside of Soline's work. It all just gets too much for Izzy, who was initially really supportive and she's still trying. Seniors at her school are being gross and mean to her and the attention is just too much. She asks them to be dropped off at her dad's house. Sol and Hayes, they're not going to make it. Hayes also leaves for a few days because there's some bandmate trouble. Sol is on her own for a while and she finally reads the negative comments about herself online. She'd mostly avoided it up until this point. When she picks up Hayes from the airport, she ends it. Again, she says that it's too much for Izzy and she needs to put Izzy first. Hayes says that he'll quit everything. He'll stop with the band. He's fine with that. But Sol says that that will make things worse. I mean, the Yoko Ono 2.0 comment, remember? He asks why she won't fight for them and she just cries and says that he should go. That night, Hayes comes back to the house, eyes bloodshot. He says that he auditioned for the band when he was 14. It shouldn't ruin his whole life. Sol says that it won't. He's going to go on to have a great life. They tell each other that they love each other and they start kissing again. Looks a little bit more than a goodbye kiss, unless this is a dream. The lighting is really weird, but it turns out it's not a dream. After the epic goodbye kiss, he asks her to promise that she'll reconsider in 5 years because Izzy will be out of school by then and they can have another chance. She tells him that in the meantime, if they do get a shot at happiness with other people, they should take it because 5 years is a long time. He leaves for the last time then, and he also leaves his watch on the hallway table. And then, oh my goodness, we get her 5 years later. Izzy is in uni in Chicago. She's doing well. Mother and daughter's relationship is repaired. That evening while she's watching TV, she sees a solo performance by Hayes on TV. He's singing about how the lovers in the song, obviously he and Sol, still have time. He's on the Graham Norton show and he tells Graham Norton that after his tour, he's scheduled to take a break in LA because there's someone that he'd like to see. Then he shows up at the gallery with not a great beard, but these two beautiful people are still as in love as ever and they're going to live happily ever after. And yeah, that was the movie and I loved it. If you have seen it, feel free to share your thoughts and thank you for watching.